Politics Unplugged. Time to take a look at the rest of this week's headlines. So let's bring in the panel, Republican consultant Marcus Dellartino and Democratic consultant Matt Grodsky. Thanks for being here, guys. Let's start with the potential job that Kari Lake has landed.
You heard about that?
Well, after the rumors out there that she was going to land the ambassadorship of Mexico when Trump had appointed somebody else, Trump is appointing her to be the director of the Voice of America. And he's appointing her, even though there's some questions about whether or not he can actually appoint her, because those appointments are made by a board. And when it's all said and done, if Trump gets his way, Kari Lake would not be reporting directly to him. She would be reporting to the head of that board of the Voice of America. Thoughts on this appointment? Is this
well, let me further complicate it for you. The boss has to be Senate appointed or confirmed. Sorry, confirmed. And last time Trump was in office, that position took 2 years to actually get confirmed. So, you know, I don't think that this is a short-term, hey, we're packing our bags tomorrow, sell the house, and we're moving deal. And frankly, I suspect in the meantime that there will be a better opportunity to show up, probably within the Trump administration, if not obviously the private sector. She had some discussions. I think it was on the news. Talking to Newsmax about being an anchor. I think that certainly could come back to the forefront if this takes too long, or maybe it's another part of the Trump administration.
And I want to get your thoughts on this. Do you think this was a good appointment, or is this more of a lower consolation prize? Because other Trump supporters are getting some pretty, plum assignments and whatnot. What's your take on this?
I'll go a step further. I think it's just complete distraction, clickbaity stuff. I mean, I think we have to remember the Trump strategy from back when he was a candidate to president to a candidate again and now president-elect has always been to flood the zone. And when we're getting upset about RFK or Hegseth, look over here, look what I'm doing with Kari Lake. What's the speculation going to be there? So I think the broader electorate and Democrats, as an apparatus, need to be cognizant of that and try to pick our battles and pick the things we want to focus on, because I think a lot of it is by design. I agree with Marcus. I have a feeling she's going to wind up in a different gig, but I'm not sure that this is going to be, her final place.
Yeah, and speaking of final place, so last question on Kari Lake here. Marcus, do you think she's done running for office, at least for now?
Well, I think definitely for now. I think she's going to go take this. I think she wants to be part of the Trump administration. I mean, her campaign was about that. So, yeah, I think at least for 4 years she's probably done running for office as she, tries to work in that administration.
All right, and Matt, I want to get some reaction from you, being the Democrat here at the table, from Attorney General Chris Mays, also a Democrat, on this Fondamonte lawsuit. She agrees this is a novel legal concept. She says, well, I'm not going after other farmers on this. I'm just going after Fondamonte. Yep. Could this still be seen as somewhat as a scary precedent that could be set? I
don't think so at all. I mean, some people might decide to make it that, but I think this is something she ran on in 2022. It spurred a great conversation. I think that at the time, Congressman Ruben Gallego actually introduced some stuff at the federal level just based on this stuff. She's continuing to pursue Fondamonte. I think that this is an issue that transcends Republicans, Democrats, and independents because water is such a concern. So I don't think people are going to look at it logically as, oh, this sets a dangerous precedent. I think people are frankly upset and don't want a foreign company stealing water from Arizona.
Do you agree or disagree with that? Because I've talked to some folks that are concerned about this, that, if you do this, because they're not breaking any water laws on this. The AG has said that she thinks they're breaking a public nuisance law. Again, novel idea, but could this open up and set a precedent that if you're tapping that groundwater and you're a farmer out there and an AG, either Mays or someone in the future, just doesn't like what you're doing, they can come after you?
I understand your point, but I'm going to tell you right now that politicians are not going to get in trouble for going after the guys who are charging us boatloads of money for gas, by the way, to pump our groundwater out, to send alfalfa all the way back to Saudi Arabia. The voters, and if you've been out to La Paz County, those people are ticked off, and I cleaned that up a lot for TV, by the way. And so it's understandable that this tension has existed for at least a minimum of 2 years. And Chris has said, or the Attorney General has said, look, I'm not going to go after those other farmers. This is a particular case, and I think that you know, that's okay with the voters. I think, to your point, the policy experts in this, I understand their point. There is a valid concern, but you know,
it's not just her; it's future AGs.
Well, it's future AGs and it's future issues. You know, the circumstances change, and that's the toughest part about writing state statutes or law, is having it apply to a very delicate situation, right? And so at some point here we have to kind of clean that up and get micro targeted towards fixing
future
this issue.
AGs, you have to have water here, right? And I think that gets back to the main concern, is people are very, very concerned about water. She said something like 93,000 homes could have been supported with what they pumped out. So I think it resonates with voters.
Especially when we're talking about housing shortages, and people are like, wow, 93,000 houses, that's a lot.
And final question on this, and I'll just open it up to whoever wants to take this. I mean, do you think there's anything, the political will at the legislature to tackle this issue? Because clearly, Chris Mays puts the blame on the legislature. She said they have done absolutely nothing to address this.
There has been the political will in the past. I will tell you, like, I think it was last session or the session before, we had bills talking about foreign governments owning property in Arizona. And so I think that there is a will. It's a little bit, gets a little further complicated here because, of course, Chris is running, Attorney General is running for re-election as a Democrat. It's rumor is that Warren Peterson, who's the president of the Senate, the Republican, will be running for AG. And so to that end, it gets a little more politically dicey. But I think that the policymakers down there, the vast majority of them understand that this doesn't make very much sense, that the guys who are charging us $3.50 a gallon for gas are pumping our groundwater.
Well, should there at least be a cap on this? Can the legislature at least agree to cap how much money they're tapping out of the groundwater?
You would think so. It would be logical. I think we got to take a bigger step back and recognize that the legislature just went to the Republicans, right? They increased their majority. They haven't been, hurt by dropping the ball on this in the past. So I think it's incumbent on Democrats and individuals that care about this to tell that story the same way that the Attorney General was talking about on here, that it's in their best interest politically to find a solution to this.
And there is an art of the deal over, look, you've got to allow for the growing of watermelons and lettuce to be shipped out of Arizona, but apply it micro-targeted, again, to this specific situation.
Well, let's wrap up on this. We got a little less than a minute left here, and I do want to get to this. Senate President Warren Peterson has filed a bill he thinks is going to speed up the election count. It's significant. Senate presidents don't file a lot of legislation, and when they do, it sends a message that is something that's going to get done. It's got wide Republican support. Basically, what it would do, it would cut off the deadline when you could drop off your early ballot in person the Friday before the election instead of on election day. There are some other ways you could continue to come in and drop your ballot off in person as long as you had ID. Do you think the governor who vetoed similar legislation a couple of years ago may be persuaded to support something this time around?
We'll see. I think that it's just funny that these guys, they vote in a certain way to make the process harder, and then they go and try to fix the problem that they created, and then they try to make it seem like, oh, why are we getting in the way of that? I think a lot of the legislation that they're talking about introducing at this stage is meant to grab headlines. It's meant to elicit a reaction. And so I think, kind of similar to the Kari Lake thing, we got to be careful about what we choose to react to.
All right, we're going to have to end it right there. That's all the time we have this week. But be sure to join us next week for more Politics Unplugged.